I could for a moment, I'm going to speak to you on an issue from the heart. And I know it's a bit shocking and maybe a little bit unusual to be confronted by anything that could be considered politics at a Hozier show. And I understand what I'm about to speak on is an issue that a lot of people are deeply emotionally invested in. And many people might be upset with what I'm about to suggest as a foreign citizen to the US, as an Irish citizen. But I want to explain where I am in my heart on this. There was a UN resolution, General Assembly today, on the legality and humanitarian treatment of civilians. And a General Assembly vote is non-binding. It's gestural. If I can for a moment, I come from, and I say this because what we've seen since the nightmare of October the 7th, as we know, I don't need to remind you, is another day, another nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. And if you could, I just want to mention that I come from a country that faced centuries of violence, centuries of sectarian violence and occupation, and it was brought to a political and diplomatic end with the involvement of the United States. And today the United States voted against in the General Assembly. And last week there were votes for a ceasefire, and the United States, which has a permanent seat on the Security Council, has consistently voted it down, has vetoed it or cancelled the vote. And so I come from a country whose peace that we enjoy now was as a direct cause of the direct involvement of the United States and the international community. And so that's why I believe that international investment in an issue like this can really help. And it can feel so hopeless, and it can feel there's so much energies of hopelessness and powerlessness in a moment like this. But we do have representation, and we have access to our respective representations coming from democracies on the global stage. And we can remind that representation to represent us in our collective compassion, our collective humanity, and our collective grief. And so all I would say, if you would consider it, that if you are moved to reach out to your representation and to ask them to represent you on that basis, I would love for you to consider it. That is all. I'm going to introduce